Hey everybody, welcome to another week of Daily Star Wars Collecting. This is week 11. I'm sorry I didn't post yesterday. I was working late and there's no way I would have had a chance to do it. But you guys had a great week. Those of you who were able to post talked about the Phantom Menace, and I really enjoyed watching your videos and learning more about what you thought of each of episode 1 and the characters. And a lot of you guys showed us your episode 1 action figures, and because that's a line of toys that I didn't get really involved in, so I didn't know that a lot of that stuff came out. So I was really interested in seeing some of that. In fact, at the store the other day, or at the flea market, this guy has a deluxe Obi-Wan, and it's a regular Obi-Wan action figure with a lightsaber, and he's holding it in 2 hands, and it's raised above his head. And it comes with a remote control, and when you push a button, he swings down with his lightsaber. And I thought that was really interesting. They've tried a lot of new things with that line of toys that they just haven't done since. And it's a shame because that's kind of cool. I mean, that would be pretty neat to have something like that in a Movie Heroes line, because then you can set your action figures up and have them fight without using your hands, and that would be really cool. So Phantom Menace, that was I'm glad you guys. Philip kind of convinced me that I should probably go see it because I'm reading a book called Collect All 21 of Star Wars Collector's Memoirs, and he's remembering back when he was a kid and the stuff he bought and the excitement he felt as a kid when he's waiting for new action figures to come out. And I remember, just listening to his stories reminds me so much of my own childhood. It really reminds me how much collectors all have in common, that we're all really excited for the next movie to come out, the next this, the next that. And one thing he says in there it kind of ties into what we talked about last week and this week, is that collectors are really picky, or diehard fans are really picky and really harsh on the prequel trilogy, saying, oh, this was a mistake, and oh, they should have done this instead. And he said that, they were flawed, but they were mostly fun. And that's the thing that we forget as adults. We go in there expecting our version, was 20 years waiting for the next Star Wars, or 16 years, and we had all these thoughts in our heads of what the next movie is going to be like, and then it doesn't meet our expectations. But why do we have does anything ever meet your expectations? Like, I have expectations for the next Batman movie coming out this summer, and or maybe it's next summer. But what if they don't meet my expectations? I mean, do I have to get mad at the movie? So it's an interesting way of looking at it and tying it all together. And that kind of brings me to this week's topic discussion, which there's some kind of a big thing going on in Star Wars news right now. And I pushed back our real topic this week to next week. Next week we'll talk about Star Wars video games, and then after that we'll do our February contests. But for this week I want to talk about George Lucas, because he's retiring from blockbuster movies. He's not going to make any more Star Wars movies. And I kind of had that general idea that he wasn't going to. But the reason he's not going to make Star Wars movies isn't because he doesn't have a story, or not because he's that he won't make profit off it. He knows he'd make $1 trillion off another trilogy. It's just that he doesn't like people criticizing him. And that's not a good position to be in for a movie producer. But I thought we could analyze this together and try to look at the things that, why is it that George Lucas feels that we criticize him too much, and yet up to this point I thought he didn't care about criticism. That's why he does his own thing. So here I looked up the article of George Lucas retiring, and the guy asked him, do you want to make any more Star Wars movies? And he said, why would I make any more when everybody yells at you all the time and says what a terrible person you are? And so I do understand that people do go a little too far into criticism. People call him crazy. People say he's deliberately trying to ruin Star Wars. And first, let me go ahead and just say what I think about it. That way I can sort of mitigate the criticism I'm going to give, and let you know that first of all, we would not be having this conversation right now if it weren't for George Lucas creating Star Wars. He's a brilliant man of tying the mythology in with the cinematics, and just really driving force behind creating this movie. And especially the first movie, he had the enormous amount of control over the first movie. And the second, in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, he had other directors helping him and stuff, but he was still really engaged, and he did a really brilliant job. And there's always something you can nitpick about everything. You could nitpick anything in those movies, but I think that he was a brilliant creator of this franchise. Also, as a collector, a lot of people say, oh, he's just trying to make money off toys, and he's just going way over the top with producing toys. As a collector, I like that because it gives me an option of things to collect. I love the original vintage Star Wars toys. I grew up with them. I had an amazing time collecting them and playing with them. I have so many memories of those toys that they really are a big part of my growing up. And then when I got back into being a collector as an adult, I have a lot of fun going out and finding this stuff. And so to give him a profit off of letting me enjoy this, what else would I spend my money on? Would I collect football jerseys or something if I wasn't collecting Star Wars toys? So why should I blame him for trying to make money? If anything, it shows what a great businessman he is, that he's kept this line of toys going for 30 years. There was a gap in there, but, and you got to think of his other things he did. He had some flops, but he had, Indiana Jones and spearheading all these great things. And you know what? I love the movie Willow. A lot of people say that's stupid, but I loved it as a kid, and I still love it. So, but yeah, he's got a lot of things that we could criticize him on. Jar Jar, the kid who plays Anakin in Episode 1. I really didn't like Attack of the Clones the plot of the movie. And so there are things that I could sit here and criticize him for. But the thing that everyone's really mad about is going back and making changes. And that's what I want to talk to you guys about today. So I said what a brilliant guy is, but I also have to say that going back and changing the original movies is a mistake. And because it says that, it's like him saying that he has, created this environment where we can all get together as fans and collect. And we can all really, just get involved with the expanded universe, comic books, and you really put a lot into this, and the fans really get involved more so than George Lucas is. We really are more involved than him, but it doesn't mean he has to listen to us. He's the businessman in charge. The problem is he's surrounded by yes men who will tell him every idea of his is brilliant, and he doesn't broach criticism very well, which is evident by his decision to retire because of criticism. Even though for decades he's been saying he doesn't care what the fans think. Or, well, he cares, but not enough to actually change his mind. So, going back and changing the original movies, there comes the line where a lot of people have come up with the argument of saying that the movies belong to the culture at large. That it's gotten out of his hands now. Kind of like people are really freaking out over Lord of the Rings movies and The Hobbit getting held up in court because the son of J.R.R. Tolkien wanted to make changes to the movies, or he didn't like the way they were making the movies or something. Is it his property anymore? His father owned the property. His father created it all, and his father died. Well, you pass your property to your kids. But he gave that property to the world in the form of books, and it has been internalized by culture. So how much control should someone else say over what you can do with it? And so there's the copyright laws and things you can get involved in, and SOPA and all this crap. But anyway, trying to get back on track, the George Lucas thing. When he went back and changed the original movies, that was his way of saying, these movies that you love aren't good enough, and because they belong to me, I'm going to remove them from your house. And so when your VHS tapes start to wear down, when I give you the DVD, it's going to have the movie I want to be. I'm going to have computer-generated Jabba the Hutt. If you don't want Jabba the Hutt in your episode 1 or your episode 4, too bad he's in there. And so he said that it has been completely replaced. And a good example is this. This is the DVD version of Star Wars, limited edition. And I don't know about other DVD versions. I'm sure they come out in collections and things. But this one comes with 2 discs. A disc, regular play disc, and a bonus disc. The bonus disc has the original release of the movie. So that's a condescension to the fans. That's saying, all right, you guys want the original, here you go. But it's on the bonus disc. The real movie is over here. This is the one with computer-generated Wombats and computer-generated Jabba the Hutt and Greedo shooting first, and I never watched this version. I always watched the original version. So in my opinion, it would be so easy. It's kind of like his attitude. That's the problem. His attitude is that, yeah, I'll show you the original version, but it's the bonus. That's just historical. But the real movie is now the one that has changed. And just to give you an idea of going back and changing the movies, I really did like some of those special edition scenes. I was younger when they came out, and I didn't mind them expanding Mos Eisley, digitally remastering, fixing up some of the grainy images. A couple times you see, AT-AT walkers through the canopy of the snowspeeder, and you're not supposed to. It was a special effects mistake. If they corrected little things, I'm fine with that. Everyone wants to see a cleaner cut of a movie when, they're always digitally remastering movies. That's fine. And it's kind of like the story of George Washington's axe, that it was handed down from generation to generation, and my grandfather replaced the handle and my father replaced the head. Is it the same axe? No, it's not. And, there's a lot of funny things like that. There's the ship of Theseus, where it was in Athens. There was this mythological ship that, took Theseus to fight the Minotaur, and they brought it back to Athens and preserved it. But they realized that over the centuries that the wood was warping and the sails were ripping, so they replaced them, the wood and the sails, and they replaced another piece of wood and another piece of wood, until it got to the point the philosophers were saying, is there a single piece of wood left on that ship that hasn't been replaced? It's not the same ship. Why does it have, just because it has, what's in a name? That's the philosophical argument behind it. If he goes back and changes all the prequels or all the original trilogy, at what point does it stop being the same movie? And for some very picky type A personalities, changing little things like that changes it. You put computer-generated, the year 2000 computer-generated images into a 1977 movie, they say, you've changed it. You put something modern into something that was a part of my childhood. I didn't have computer-generated stuff when I was a kid. So it's an interesting argument. And so anyway, I've rambled on ridiculously. So here's what I want you guys to do. Tell me your thoughts about George Lucas. He's obviously a brilliant creator for making Star Wars and keeping it profitable all this time. So we do owe him a lot of appreciation for everything he's done. But he gets it in the form of money, right? And if he avoids his fans and alienates them, does that bother you, that he ignores criticism and then lashes out against criticism by retiring? Or do you think that fans criticize too much? And tell me, here's a good thing to do this. Tell me, what is your favorite change George Lucas has made to the movies, and what is your least favorite change, alteration he's made? And I thought that would be an interesting topic to discuss, collecting as it applies to Star Wars as a whole. And another good way to put this is, think about Hasbro. We make fun of Hasbro all the time. We're picking on them, always complaining and stuff. Oh, they put ball-hinged elbows on someone who needed swivel elbows. We get down to the very minutia of collecting and criticize. But you know what? Hasbro responds because they have a financial incentive to give us what we want, right? It's the market, it's supply and demand. If we demand something, they're going to supply it. And if we say, look, this Ponda Baba is outdated and ridiculous, and you need to make a new one, and he needs to have ball-hinged shoulders, elbows, and feet, they gave it to us. And so they're going to keep supplying us with that. But George Lucas is different. He doesn't need any money. He wants to preserve his reputation, but he's not. He's micromanaging things to the point that people don't like him. And I don't agree with all the people who make fun of him, and I don't agree with the people who kiss his butt all the time either, or people who hero worshippers. I'm in the middle. I appreciate the good things, and I criticize the bad, and I think he should just tough it out and deal with it. But character discussion for this week, to put on things on a high note, is R2-D2, because everyone loves R2-D2, and so you can complain about George Lucas and talk about how great R2-D2 is. If anyone doesn't like R2-D2, then you're just in for a bad week. So, alright guys, contests are coming up. I've got everything ready. Next week I'll give you a preview of the contest prizes, and then the week after that, we're kicking it in high gear. Amazing, crazy, big-time contest stuff coming up. And then at the end of February, we'll have a big format change. So, thank you all very much. Really appreciate it, and may the Force be with you.
Aw, I've interrupted happy time.